Our next speaker is arguably New Zealand's most internationally recognised and published architect. I should know, we both share the identical name. In fact, when I was at university, I received his architecture prize one year. Just to cover myself, I made the university write a letter back to me to confirm they had received the cheque back as well too. Last year, the world's most searched architectural journal, London-based World Architecture News, named his firm, Patterson Associates, as one of 5 architects worldwide, quote, whose work is set to shape global architecture in the 21st century, end quote. He is the designer of New Zealand's only new build 6 Green Star rated project, Geyser, here in Auckland. Rated as an international innovator, Andrew believes that if New Zealand is to sustainably succeed, its built environment must equal or better its natural environment. Would you please welcome to TEDxAuckland the other, Andrew Patterson.
I can better that one because I was at a conference last year and they said, Andrew Patterson, I'll show you to your seat. And I sat down beside the Prime Minister. I got the wrong seat. Thank you for that lovely introduction, Andrew. In case you're wondering, after that, this wasn't designed by me. I'm part of a small group of architects here in Auckland, urban designers, model makers, CAD operators, and we're interested in Kiwi design. And this is a renovation of a mountain done by some colleagues of ours in Greece. I don't know if you've noticed, but in New Zealand, our built environment isn't quite as good as our natural environment. Why is this? So I thought I'd use this time to tell you what I've learned about beauty, and it starts with a story. When I was a young architect, like every architect, I wanted to design my own house. And so I saved my money, and I bought this beautiful section in Northland, you know, the Kiwi Dream. And the section was unusual in that it was steep and rugged. It was beautiful. And on the hills were these little terraces. The terraces were archaeological sites, over 30 archaeological sites. There was house sites, storage sites, middens and pits and a pa. In fact, it was a complete village. So anyway, the house mover, the architect in me was thrilled to be finally designing my own house. But the client in me was always changing my mind. Finally, I got the design that I wanted and a building permit. And the design went out to the builder and it came back twice my budget. The architect was very annoyed, the client was inexperienced. Anyway, the house mover I knew said to me, Andrew, I can give you a house, an old batch. It's in my yard for free. So it was an offer too good to refuse. So I sacked the architect. Well, actually, I didn't. I ended up designing the site. It's all I could design. And the day came, and this batch arrived on the site in this big 18-wheeler trailer, and they started backing it down the steep coastal escarpment. And the pin came out of the trailer, and I looked at the house mover, and he was as white as a sheet. And it slowly rolled forward. And we both watched almost in slow motion while this thing tore down the hill. And at about 40 kilometres an hour, the trailer jackknifed. And the house rose up in the air. And all we could do was lift the batch up, pull out the trailer, the buckle trailer, and that's where it's sited to this day. So I didn't get to even design my own site. And my family ended up camping on the original Maori historic sites. And to my surprise at the time, they were beautiful. I mean, they were beautifully laid out for the sun and for the views and for privacy. And as more and more of our friends and family joined us over the years, the original Maori village was recreated. And it was a beautiful place to live. So, as the years have gone by, Te Aui's influenced my thinking. What is beauty? What makes something beautiful? Why is beauty important? Has it got something to do with style? Well, I'll tell you right now, it's got nothing to do with style. Any form of creativity has what's called a medium. The medium of dance is the human body. The medium of film is photography. The medium of photography is film. Well, nowadays, digital film. Well, the medium of architecture is the environment. You're taking the environment and modifying it. Take the Sydney Opera House. It looks completely right in its harbourside environment, but it loses that beauty completely if you put it, say, on a dairy farm in the Waikato. So beauty's often mistaken for the eye of the beholder. Nowadays, it's thought of as an evolutionary device to show us the good path from the bad. TED talks about it a lot. Murray Gill says it's the proof of all science. Darwin called beauty the purpose of evolution. I was trained in Western architecture, and as you might know from engineering, the geometric form of a tripod. A tripod can carry a great weight through 3 interdependent legs, and this is a good way of thinking about any creative venture. One leg is the concept, the next leg is the attitude that the work has, and the next leg is how the work communicates. These legs were worked out by an architect called Vitruvius about 300 BC, and they're still in use today. And Vitruvius's legs were firmness, which is permanency, utilitas, which is fit for purpose, and venestus, which is interesting. It's the Latin word for the delight or beauty of the natural world. What he was telling us was that your building has got to be as good as the natural world that it's replacing. This is a picture of a whare recreated by Unitec. It's on the Maori sites. It was the original building that was on Te Auи. When Joseph Banks came to New Zealand, he was the most cultured man on Cook's first voyage. And he saw these raupo huts for the first time at Mercury Bay, and he thought the village there was the most beautiful group of buildings he'd ever seen. So the raupo buildings were hardly permanent, and they certainly were not replacing the natural world. They were of the natural world. So I wanted to show you some projects inspired by Te Aui. Each project is supported by an independent leg in no particular order. The first leg we call the rangi and papa attitude. Early New Zealanders thought of themselves as the children of a sensuous sky father, rangi, and earth mother, papa. And when you think about it, this way of thinking is much closer to what we know as the evolutionary truth than the Western spiritual model. It's a different way of thinking. In a land culture, there's no distinction between the man-made and the natural. We are part of the environment, and the environment is part of us. So this building is called Geyser. It's not like a regular office building. It's like it's been sliced into 6 parts, and those parts separated to get light and air into every part of the interior. It's kind of like a forest of trees with clearings in the middle. And you walk through the parts to discover the courtyards within. And there's a mixture of light and dark, and views through. and the light bounces around the interior, and everything's seen silhouetted against the sky. Each individual part of this building is also like a tree. They're clad in a twin-wall glass facade, and this facade is operated by electronic actuators connected to a meteorological station on the roof. So in summer, the facade forms a thermal chimney which sucks the cooler air from the south side of the building up and ventilates the space. And in winter, of course, it reverses. This is another project. It's called Cumulus. This is made out of a matrix of concrete panels all bolted together. What it means is the weight of the building is effectively halved, or it's made lightweight, and it's very economical to construct. Now, Cumulus is patterned based on a tapa cloth from Tonga. Here's a picture of the outside. And in the middle, there's a sky courtyard where all you can see is the clouds. So we call this, we are part of the environment, and the environment is part of us. The Raupo huts at Tuawi were faced with these timber boards, carved timber boards. You can see the face up there at the apex, and the arms were outstretched, and the backbone was the ridge beam behind. The building was conceived as the body of the founder of the tribe, supported by the members of the hapu who the building was for. This building's actually designed for the people who inhabit the building. I can tell you this is quite an alien concept in Western architecture. Western architecture is all about space and light. So we call this form follows whānau. Let me show you a project to illustrate this. This is a house. It's for a couple. He was a warrior kind of guy, and she was a beautiful woman. Very different people. So as well as the house being fit for purpose, designed for them, it was about them as well. The designers intended to create a sense of belonging for them both. That's fronted by this big carved screen to the street, and at night feathers are projected on the screen. It tells a story about the people who the building was for. And there's this glass sitting room overlooking Auckland City. She calls it her perch, and he calls it his vantage point. This is another project. It's a golf clubhouse in the South Island. Now, most of you might know that the game of golf is a frustrating connection with the landscape through this little dimpled ball. So the building's underground to get well out of the way of that. It's laid out anthropomorphically. The cart store is where the legs are, the bar is at the mouth, and the ovaries are in the middle. And it's made out of the materials found on the site. It's kind of sensuous, like the surrounding landscape. So we call this form follows whānau. The third leg we call thinking in patterns, the communication leg. Now it's madness, morally and economically in New Zealand, to be replacing our natural landscape with something unless it's better. And you can look at, say, Geyser with Western eyes and say it's an attempt to replace the land with something as good or better, if not better. But looking through the Tuawi eyes, it's different. You see, an earth culture didn't have a written language. They thought in patterns. This is the original natural way of human thought. And we still do this today in New Zealand. This is a silver fern. It's a simple AB pattern. And this pattern talks to any New Zealander. So when people visit our Geyser building, they don't remark on the concept, but they remark on the pattern of the light inside it. The building summons the intuition rather than the intellect. And of course, the tripod's a pattern itself. So our environment is part of us. So, feel welcome to get involved. If your school or local developer or council is planning a project, find out about the architect selection. Are their buildings beautiful? This is a project we're opening in Frankfurt on Tuesday. It's the New Zealand Country of Honour Pavilion. It's a massive hall in the Frankfurt Book Fair. And we've flooded the floor with about 3 inches of water right through. And in the middle, we've put an island linked by causeways to the rest of the fair. And on the island, there's this pattern of triangular sub-pavilions. And each sub-pavilion's a library full of books on New Zealand, backed by huge projection screens. And the books appear to talk to each other across a kind of central space. So this project's a pattern of New Zealand. It's an island in an ocean under a starry sky, and it's a pattern of our oral storytelling tradition. So I still haven't designed my own house. But we love designing projects big and small. And I want you to know what we've learnt. That we are part of our environment, and our environment is part of us. So if you want to live a beautiful life, then live in a beautiful place. And it doesn't matter whether it's in the city or the country. It's not so much what you do or where you do it. It's about how it's done. So we need buildings in New Zealand that talk to us. We need buildings that belong to us and our environment, because if they belong, we'll feel a sense of beauty and we'll belong there as well. Thank you.